How do you want for that?
This
Maybe
audience-
darker?
Want it darker?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they're on a different.
Well, I apologize for the lack of people. I, certainly thought we'd get more.
How do you think, is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah. So, my name is Donanne, and I grew up off-grid on a homestead that my parents made, and they built a stone house from the stone walls in Mount Vernon, Maine. And my dad was really excited about scottoneering and back to the land, so we had huge gardens, we had no electricity. We used a cook wood stove and human air toilets and gravity-fed water, and I had a wonderful childhood there. I loved it. We had a big beaver pond, had a lot of freedom, free-range kids. That's what we were. My sisters and my brother. So now I started this permaculture homestead in 2011 in Stoneham, Maine, on 129 acres. But this area here is only about 2.5. And of course, this is the original design. This was a yurt that I had. Since then, I built a house here. This is the underground house. And here's a picture of the underground house with a living roof. It has passive solar big windows here. It doesn't show the whole house. But it also has passive geothermal. So a green builder built it. It was there when I moved there. And it's a wonderful little house. But the passive geothermal are these pipes that come up through under the ground, and they come up to the floor. And so the air from the underground air comes up into the house, and the house never freezes. So you don't have to worry about it in winter. You can just go away on vacation if you want, and it never freezes.
What does it, I'm sorry, what kind of temperature does it keep the house at?
About 50.
Oh, wow.
I've had it go down to 48, but usually it's 52. And there's a wood stove in there, so you can heat it, and it has stone walls, so the stone heats up with the wood stove like a cast iron pan, and it holds heat for a long time, because it's only 481 square feet. It takes about 3/4 of a quart of wood to heat it in the winter.
Wow.
So it's a tiny house, and I have 2 daughters, so we end up building another house. I'll show you a picture. That's the underground house. And see, I added a little solarium right there, so I could grow year-round, and I could start my seedlings in spring. It's very nice. But we built this little house. This I call Mount Chalet. I'm still putting shingles on it, cedar shingles. So that has 2 bedrooms upstairs. It's about 1,000 square feet now, because I put 2 little additions on. I put a sunroom on so that I can grow year-round in my house. This is my driveway in. It's a mile from a paved road, and my driveway is 2,000 feet long, and it's quite steep. But I like being remote. We're near the White Mountain National Forest, and there's a lot of conservation land around us. Now, we built this pond. First, I hired an excavator guy, giant excavator, and he dug this pond, and as you can see, there's a little island. So it had ledge in the middle. And I was like, perfect, an island. And that's my daughter, Nature, and she's paddling around. But every permaculture farm has to have a pond. There's my dog swimming in it.
Can I ask you about the pond? Did you have to put plastic, or, I mean, was it natural water coming in, or, I mean?
Well, honestly, we dug a pond, and it didn't hold water. And I would have had to bring in truckloads of pure clay, because I don't want to use plastic.
Yeah,
You could.
but what did you do then? Or you did it?
So this is what I did. Okay, so we have a lot of springs on my land and a lot of streams.
Yeah.
And so we picked a kind of a really wet area already. It was a little bit further from the house, but it was so worth it, because the stream fills the pond, and then it goes back out the other side and goes back into the stream. And there's like 3 little streams that come together after that pond. And it's like this deep, And when it's really rainy, it's like that deep.
The reason why I ask is because Phil had somebody dug a pond on the backside of the house here, but the water doesn't stay, so we have to kind of have a garden house and filling it up.
Oh.
And they have, I don't know what to try, but
Check out creating water gardens, because you can line it.
oh,
And you can even have a solar bubbling thing, you know, like a little fountain
yeah.
that aerates it, because you don't want mosquitoes.
Yeah, I've done that.
Right, so that's my daughter with her
Wow,
frogs.
look at those frogs.
Yeah, they're big frogs, and there's so many, and this is the solar panels. Okay, that's my peach tree. This is a peach tree. Now, the funny thing about this peach tree is that it was a nectarine tree, okay? And it died and left a shoot. So I said, oh, I'll just let it grow. It's either gonna be a plum or a peach, right? That peach tree produces massive amounts of peaches, and I just love it. I'll show you another picture of it. That's my nephew. There's my chicken. I got a lot of chickens. And we have bunnies. These bunnies, babies, more baby bunnies. This is a cherry tree that's struggling, but that day it wasn't struggling. Fruit trees take a lot of love and care. So there's the peaches. They're not ripe yet in that picture, but oh my gosh, they were so good. And that tree, there it is. It got hit by a hurricane and branches broke off, and then another storm broke off more branches, and it's still producing. Whoa, sorry. Oh yeah, that's it. So this is my vegetable garden. And it has a huge variety of plants growing in it. And some of them are wild edibles, actually a lot of them are. And then some of them I planted. So you can see a lot of kale growing, and the cannabis. I do the CBD oil and the THC RSO, which is the cancer cure stuff. Let's see. So that's how big our plants get. They're huge. But that's the money-making crop right there. So you can see how big the garden is. That's not a vegetable garden, but I do have all sorts of things growing in my vegetable garden. So this is Noir. He's like a rabbit that we had who's a pet, but he just free ranges. He's awesome. We don't have him anymore.
You don't have any, he doesn't have any enemies, any natural predators?
He lived, well, because the dogs would protect him. Yeah, I have 2 dogs. So there's a hoop house that I put up, which is really nice. I put tomatoes and stuff in there. There's my oldest daughter with a giant sunflower on her head. There's my younger daughter playing in the mud. It's very important for kids to play in mud. So this is David Homa. He's a permaculture teacher as well, and he lives near me in Otisfield. And see, this is a root cellar greenhouse.
Are those oyster mushrooms?
Yeah, oh, he's amazing with mushrooms. But this root cellar greenhouse has a wood stove in it. And see, the ground level is like this high, so he has to go downstairs to get down in it. But then it's a greenhouse, and you know, he dug it by hand with a pickaxe and shovel. He's amazing.
So you are self-sustained.
Self-sustaining, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
goal.
I mean, if something should happen, you will survive really well. We all coming over to you.
Oh, right, the reason to have a root cellar greenhouse
Yeah.
is because it will stay warm and you can grow it year round. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's my corn patch. I don't even grow corn anymore, but I would grind the corn and make it into flour. There's another picture of the hoop house. Okay, so all these beds are swales. It's terraced beds, because this is kind of a steep slope. It's a south slope. That's like the first thing you want to look for in Maine. If you're looking to create permaculture, is a south slope, so you get the sun. It could be flat too, but you're better off to have south or southeast facing slope. And so I dug these swales with made these terraced beds with a shovel and a pickaxe. Yeah, you're welcome to look at any of these books. cauliflower. Okay, so this is the living roof right here. This is looking down off the living roof on all my, these are wild sea roses. You know, they make the big fat rose hips that you can dry and make into tea, and they have tons of vitamin C.
And
So-
we just eat them raw.
Yeah, you eat them raw.
You do.
So I have a lot of wild edibles that I love that grow around. I've learned a lot about the plants.
How deep is your soil in your roof?
Well, in my vegetable garden, which is in front of this house, I've been developing the soil for many years.
No, I meant on the roof.
Oh, on the roof. The roof is like a couple feet deep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, and you have to make sure no trees grow up there. Nothing with big roots can grow up there. But I've grown strawberries, and that's the squash is coming down over the roof and hanging down. I wanted it like that. It was so fun. Yeah. Squashes.
What do you use for a barrier between the dirt and the roof?
It's a thick piece of rubber.
Ah.
You know, expensive big piece of rubber.
Yeah.
So that was my yurt, and we put a roof over it. It was called a yome back then before I built the house, and I built that garden. There's a lot of quartz on my land, so there's a lot of quartz rocks, even big ones in my garden. I'll show you another picture. There's a natural stream that runs in front of the house, has lots of little waterfalls. Water is super important when you're looking for a location for creating permaculture. But you can retrofit something you have too. You just gotta watch the sun angles and pay attention to water. A lot of observation. Oh, more roof picture, looking down. So we used this big excavator. See how it says 60D? I think they did that on purpose to make you feel like God. You know,
Oh.
driving it.
Oh, I see. It looks like
So we did use that. Sepulcher uses it. We're mountain gardening because it's pretty steep, and he uses excavators and creates key line. I wonder if I have his book here. He's an amazing Austrian
Is that
permaculturist.
what's that then?
Oh, what just happened?
HDM.
No signal.
Or
Something
H-
came on
or-
tab.
Oh, I see, it's the cable.
Everything.
Wait.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. That's a different picture than on here. Oh, I'm
There it
sorry.
is.
Okay, there you go. Okay, that's in front of my little chalet. Okay, so my dad helped me build that grape arbor, and I'll show you what it looks like today. Holy moly. Oh no. Oh well. Okay, so this is a hugel bed that
A
we
what?
built this year even.
What do you call it?
A hugel bed?
Hugo.
Yeah. So I rented an excavator for this and dug a trench, and then we put dead logs in it, and then you bury them. See, we're starting to bury it. And so the soil above it is like, the bed itself is like this high. And so deep under the soil are these dead logs, and they rot and aerate the soil and put the microbes in and the fungi, and creates the ideal habitat for growing. That's a little garden my sister made. It's really cute.
So, being that was a wooded lot, correct?
Yes, it's all woods, streams.
So you have to truck in all your topsoil?
I didn't truck any in. I did truck in some compost and some horse manure.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to build my own soil now. I have a tractor, so I brought in like lobster shells, buried them. Oh, so stinky. But yeah, if you can get materials like seaweed, horse manure, and you mix it all together and you make your own. Yeah, it takes time and energy, but it's a lot less expensive. I mean, then you could sell it, you know, after you've got a finished compost product. But I've also had them truck in like 5 yards of compost, you know, finished MOCA certified compost.
Yeah.
And I've used that, but I also make my own tea. So if you just take a 5-gallon bucket and some dandelion, like the roots and the leaves, and some comfrey and some nettles. You could use other things too, but you just put it in the bucket and you put a cover on so there's a little air, and then you stir it, and you can stir it for like you just stir it once in a while
With water? Or
with
just-
water.
yeah.
Sorry, yes, with water. And then you can sprinkle that on your garden. And if you stir it every day and you wait a month, then you have some potent tea. It's
Mhm.
really, so you have to dilute it. It's more like fish emulsion, and it's real stinky, but it's like it's amazing food. And I
Huh.
use bunny poo too, because you can put that right on the garden. It gives it lots of good nutrition.
You don't put a cover and keep a cover over the tea?
Yeah, I put a cover on, but it's gotta have a little bit of air. So, and then I take the cover off and stir it every now and then, and then when it gets stinky, and it starts to foam up, it's fermenting, and then it's real food. It's amazing food.
And how much do you put on each plant?
Well, I have to dilute it, so I'll mix it with a little bit with water, like you would fish emulsion. Have you ever bought one of those
Yeah.
gallon fish emulsion? Yeah. So you mix it like that. It depends, like some plants need more food, so I just kind of use my inner vision, but the squash and the broccoli like a lot of food, potatoes, so I pile it on them, and others I won't give quite as much. So that's my dog. It took me a long time to get her to stay there. I took that picture like yesterday, or no, maybe the day before. Yeah. And that's my biggest plant right now. It's growing in my garden.
So what's your dog's name?
Liza.
Liza.
Yeah, she's excellent. I love her. Okay, so there's potatoes, and I wanted to show you, these are Jerusalem artichoke.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I've been integrating more and more perennial vegetables into my garden. And part of that process is learning how to use the food, because we're so used to potatoes and corn, But Jerusalem artichoke is like, makes these tubers, they're not as big as potatoes. Well, some of them are. And it's kind of like a nutty potato. But it just grows, and there's nothing you have to do. You don't have to water it. Once you plant one, it spreads. You don't have to feed it. You don't have to do anything but harvest and eat it. So those types of plants I love, like lamb's quarters, and I just got some yukon. Lamb's quarters are growing everywhere. I'll show you another picture of lamb's quarters. It's just a weed, but
It's edible.
wild edibles have sometimes 1,000 times more nutrition than the plants that you grow. So it just makes sense to eat them, especially if they taste good. So let's see. Oh, another picture of that. Okay, this is some lettuce that I planted, but now it's going to seed. These are all the seeds, and I will let them ripen, and then I'll just put them in a bag. And I have tons of lettuce seed, tons of kale seed, and I can collect broccoli seeds.
How long do you let them go before you collect them?
They gotta be dry, yeah, so
So
once
dry.
they fall right off the plant, then you're ready to harvest. And it's so easy to put them in the bag when they're dry and ready. And the other thing I've done is just let it fall to the ground, and then they grow the next year. But then you have to remember where they fell, or you cover it with mulch and might kill them.
So I know that you mulch with basically all straw.
No, I actually mulch with some hay, and I mulch with green cuttings from a field or a lawn. What else do I mulch with? I throw compost on sometimes, and oh yeah, I feed my garden. It's important to feed it, so I feed it azomite. Azomite's like the major thing, because it has all the stuff. It's little pellets, and you just put it on, and it will take the next year for them to really be in there. But the mulching is incredible, because just 1 year of mulching, or if you mulched in the fall, then in the spring you lift it up and you will be amazed at how many worms. Just a huge amounts of worms. They love it.
Slugs.
Oh, the other thing I've used, I haven't had slugs this year, but probably because of that dry stretch.
Welcome to Great Cranberry.
A lot of
Oh
slugs.
my God.
We have so many.
Do you ever put beer out? I've done that before.
Yeah,
No,
they just
they
get drunk and
They
rowdy.
just get. Well, the other thing I want to say about mulching is, if I have an area of the garden that's just unruly and out of control, like grass and stuff, I will put down cardboard and wet it, and then put the hay on top. And that will kill the grass, and then the grass becomes food, and the worms come up to the cardboard, so.
And I've also used 4 layers of newspaper and wetted it,
Absolutely.
and that works.
Newspaper is wonderful, yeah. I just use cardboard a lot, because that's what I have. There's,
How much hay do you put on top?
What?
How much hay on top of the?
Oh, yeah, like a book, like,
Yep.
2-inch thick about. But, so these are a whole bunch of onions, you know, and you see how I have a lot of different plants growing together, so it looks really kind of unorganized, but that's how nature likes it, that's how nature grows. If you pull out all of your weeds, then you might be missing some incredible nutrition that you could have been eating. So it's wonderful to learn about plants.
Yeah, we have a lot of purslane around here.
Purslane
Yeah,
is
it's really good.
super
Yeah,
high
super high.
in omegas, the omega-3.
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to grow it, and then I discovered some wild purslane. Yeah, that's great. I have a lot of wintergreen, which is also an amazing herb.
This land and lamb's quarters, they grow on the beaches.
No, it's all right for now.
Lamb's quarters, yeah, grow on the beaches. Yeah.
And the first time
I
too.
bet they have a lot of minerals in them. So this is wild amaranth. Okay, it just grows wild everywhere. And this one's going to seed.
Amaranth I thought was native to South America. Amaranth?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I have wild amaranth growing everywhere. And when it's small, you can eat the greens, the leaves from it. And when it gets big, you can eat the seeds. It's a grain. You know, you just shake them off into a baggie or something. Wild amaranth. And that's comfrey. That's like one of the staples in Permaculture Homestead, because it has so much nutrition in it for your compost.
Yeah.
And it makes huge mulch. You chop it down, there you go. Some amazing mulch, and then you can make tea out of it. And it's
Do you
great.
use forage too? Forage?
I have forage, yes. Yep, and it even reseeded itself. I was so excited. This is valerian root. Yeah, which is another really good thing to use. People use it on their apple trees. They make a
Yeah.
tea to protect the apple trees from bugs and stuff. But I haven't even done that yet. I haven't
A
had
tea
to.
with the valerian root?
Yeah. So this is cilantro. Cilantro going to seed, and then the seeds are coriander.
Mhm.
And then I replant them. I usually don't eat the coriander, I just eat the cilantro. But
So-
it's,
Are you self-sustaining as far as all your seeds go too?
No.
Everything? No?
no, there's always stuff that I wanna get. That's the thing, when you're creating, then you go to someone else's homestead and you're like, oh, what is that? You know, and you learn about a new plant or a new perennial vegetable, and you're like, yeah, I really want that. So I get stuff from other permaculturists a lot. We have seed swaps. This is nettles, stinging nettles, really stingy. This is also a staple for a permaculture homestead because it's like a superfood. That's what it is, yeah. And people can use it for allergies and stuff. But I make tea all winter long, and it gives you all the nutrition that you would get from eating greens. And I dry it, and then I make tea on my wood stove all winter. And it's going to seed, which is dangerous because it spreads like crazy, so I gotta watch it. I had to put my compost over it a couple years ago. That's kale going to seed. It's not ready.
Sorry, how do you collect your stinging nettles? I mean, obviously with gloves, but I mean, you just cut it and dry it?
Yes, and it's
And then-
really easy
And then
to
it's
dry.
okay to work with? It doesn't sting when it's dry, I assume?
It does a little, yeah.
With drinking it though?
But you can cook it and eat it in your greens. It has a little bit of a slimy texture. So if I just mix it in with my beet greens and my other greens, it's giving me the nutrition and I can eat it. And it's one of the early spring greens. too.
Does it sting you as you're eating it?
No, when it's cooked like that, it doesn't.
Okay,
Doesn't sting
okay,
it.
at first,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, sometimes I use gloves, sometimes I just I've gotten used to it, but, yeah, most people use gloves and just hack it down, and I hack it into a big, drying rack, and then I just hang it in a not sunny place, and it dries so easy and quickly. It's like one of the easiest plants. I love it. So these kale seeds are not ready yet. I'll wait for them to be ready, and look how many kale seeds. Oh my gosh, I have so many kale seeds this year, and they're gonna reseed like crazy. But I will collect some too, because kale is another super high nutrition, super cold hardy, super easy green to grow year round, and you get massive amounts of nutrition from it. And there's my peas. I've got tons of peas this year. There's some cherry tomatoes that are coming along. I actually have some tomatoes that are ripe, and I've been getting cucumbers for a while in my little greenhouse. There's a cabbage. Okay, there's garlic scapes. See? And I love them. They grow so easily.
I just found out that you're supposed to plant garlic in the fall. I didn't realize.
I've planted it like all weird times of year too, so. Oh, and that's the Jerusalem artichoke, and it just spreads, and it gets really tall. It makes these flowers that look like little sunflowers. There's my poppies, right? And these actually make the poppy seeds that you can make bread with, poppy seed muffins. There's my hoop house with a lot of tomatoes. Something ate my cucumbers out of this hoop house this year. That's my other greenhouse. This is the one that I use year round. And it's got big tomatoes right now. And cucumbers. And this is a garden bed that I built that has strawberries. Okay, you can see, so there's all these layers in here. It probably looks like chaos, but these are strawberries, okay? So the strawberries ripen, and you eat the strawberries, and I planted oats. So they've got little oat growths on them already. These tall grasses are oats. And this is a squash growing in there too. So I'll harvest some oats, and then the straw, because they're strawberries, I learned about this, it will mulch the strawberries.
Oh.
But I do have to harvest the oats or they'll drop off and grow again. But I love groats. They're really yummy. Okay, there's my big quartz crystal rock, and that's under my grape arbor. There it is. It's huge. It's like that big.
What kind of grapes?
They're Concord.
Okay.
Yeah, the Concord grapes grow really well in the cold, and I'm in Stoneham where it's zone 4. So I get plants that are super hardy, because I just want them to be able to grow on the mountain. I'm like 900 feet above sea level. This is my rainwater catchment system. So these 2 barrels fill with water from the rain from the metal roof, and then it gravity feeds into the house, into the sink. So there's plenty of water pressure. But I only have one functioning sink, the bathroom sink. I'll show you what that one looks like after. So this is wintergreen, which grows everywhere, which means I have very acidy soil. But wintergreen is a cancer cure, and there's all these amazing medicinal qualities to this plant, the leaves, the stem, the berries, and the roots even. So I make tea with it a lot.
It grows on our trails.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried just chewing on a leaf?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. So what was oh, this is a plant guild. Okay, so around the base of your fruit tree, if you plant like 50 different species of plants, this is what Sepulso teaches. I don't think I have 50, but I've tried to put a lot of different ones in there. It helps the tree grow. So some people, just have grass around their fruit tree, and it doesn't like that. It likes to be mulched. You like to have soil fixing plants in there, and pollinators, pollinating plants, like wild strawberries, different flowers, and different berries. There's comfrey. You always grow comfrey around your fruit trees. I have a list of the plant guilds somewhere. So this is a pear tree.
And do you